Go ahead. So again, welcome to community team training. So today we are with Juan Hernando. He is a web developer specialized in WordPress. I believe he is a very familiar face in WordPress community, especially global community team. So Juan also a co-organizer of Pontevedra meetup, which 30 people attend, and Pontevedra WordCamp, which 300 people attend, and the WordCamp Europe, which 3,000 people attend. That's a nice number, Juan. So he has been he has a great time in all his event, and he's a program manager. So I work together with Juan in community team. So nice to have him here today to share his knowledge. As Juan have a vast experience in vetting WordCamps, reviewing budgets, and giving advice around the budget. So today in this training, he's going to share about how to budget, right? Tips and tricks. Hopefully, there's no tricks, just tips because we are doing budgets. So
Yeah, only
without
tips.
further ado, yeah. So without further ado, I want to hand over to Juan to conduct the session. He will be taking in questions, so feel free to fill in questions in the chat. I'll leave it to Juan to start the session now. Go ahead, Juan.
Well, thank you, Sam, and thank you for preparing all of this. I didn't know if someone was going to appear here, so now I'm even more nervous because there are many people, and this is like my second or third talk in English. So, as a good Spaniard, I will say sorry for my English, and if I start talking too fast or you don't understand, don't worry. I have slides with many words in there so you can enjoy them too. So I'm going to share the screen right now. Okay. So let's see. Our favorite emojis for today. I'm going to talk about emojis because, well, I love giving talks and all that, and I like a good story and a good hero journey or whatever. But talking about budget, it's not that funny at all. So it's very difficult to find a good story to keep you enjoying here for an hour. So I will try to go as quickly as possible so you can share also your experiences and questions in the end. But we will see why emojis are important in all this thing. So maybe you're asking, although Sam has already presented me why I am here today, the possible answers are because Isota thought this was a good idea, because Sam didn't forget about what Isota said, because I'm an expert economist or accountant, because I like spreadsheets, because someone had to do it, because I'm a curious person, or because I started a small WordCamp in 2018 and now nothing makes sense anymore in my life. Well, you guess it's a multiple question, and everything is right except I'm not an expert economist or accountant, which makes easier for me to share with all of you, which I hope most of you are not also economists or accountants, about these or budget things. Okay, so let's be clear, I'm a developer. I have no more experience than anyone else apart from being organizing events for a long time. So also, if you have any doubt at any time, you can find me in Slack, WordPress.org, in Mastodon, or in my own website, okay? But let's start. It's budget review time. My favorite moment of organizing an event, said no one ever, I assume. So this was my first budget ever in WordCamp Pontevedra in 2018. I had never organized anything before, not a wedding, not a birthday party, nothing. And the cost of the event was 14,000 euros. I'm not putting the point or the comma because that's a very difficult question to answer between people from the US and from the rest of the world. So spaces, no points, no commas. This was the thing I came up with, and it was, I'm not going to say a nightmare, but It was really stressful. I will talk about it a little more later. 5 years later, this was WordCamp Europe 2023 budget. It was 1.1 million of euros. And yeah, it's a lot, but I really felt more stress with the other one. In Europe, we even had like a small green balance in the end, about 12,000 euros, which was almost enough to make a whole event in Pontevedra a few years before. So I've told you, I was very stressed about the budget review because, and I've been thinking about that and why. Why was that? So I've came with 4 answers because I had never organized anything before, because I had heard the foundation checks everything to remove the fun stuff, because I didn't want my organizing team to feel that I had lost things from the event, and because I didn't understand why I was going to get that amount of money and others more and others less. I didn't understand how anything worked. So I'm going to go through these 4 points because probably you will feel the same at some point, or you felt that way in the past when doing budget reviews and being at that side of the call. So the first one, because I had never organized anything before, that's totally normal. Most of us are people that we don't do events at all. Like our life is very far from doing that. But you are not alone, okay? Ask your mentor everything. That's why you have a mentor, and that's a person that they have more experience than you and knows many answers and knows who to ask directly to get an answer. Because also you can both ask questions at the community events channel in Slack. And there are always questions that no one has ever asked. So sometimes it's an easy one. We've seen that a lot of times. So you will get a quick answer. And sometimes it's a new thing that appears because in your country or in your city or in this year, something is different, and we will have to discuss it and find a good solution and a good answer for you. So every event is different, and there is not one way to do a WordCamp or a budget. There are many ways, and they are all welcome. So remember always that. So the actionable items I'm going to share for all the 4 answers, so you are not scared anymore about budget reviews. Meet with your mentor, decide the best way to communicate fluently. It can be a Zoom call every week, every 2 weeks. It can be Slack, email, Telegram, whatever, but have a way to speak with them whenever you need it, okay? And ask questions. It's normal that you don't know anything. So even, and probably, doesn't matter if it's your first time or you're a veteran one, there are always things that you never know. So please ask lots of questions. Also, get several quotes for any element of the event so you can compare or even negotiate in the future. Because you don't know what things cost. The first time I didn't know how much the catering could be, the audiovisual, I don't know. I mean, it's 2,000, okay, it has to be 200 or it has to be 20. I don't know. Get some quotes from different vendors, and that way you can compare. Never settle with the first one just because you got it, because maybe you can get a better price. Maybe you can ask them to donate to the event or sponsor somehow. So always try to find ways to get more knowledge about what you are asking them for. And also, you can find out the event cost if it's not the first edition. Check the budget of other years, but you can also check, you can also ask us about checking the budget of different cities near yours or in the same country or in past years, because it's a way to start. I remember when I was doing the budget for Pontevedra in 2018, I asked like, hey, in that year, what other WordCamps in Spain had happened? Can I check, or can you give me like a summary of the cost of stuff because I didn't know if I was going like too high or too low, or I don't know. So ask questions and we will try to give you the best answers. The second thing that was scary is because you go there to a meeting, probably in English, with someone you don't know, and you've heard like the foundation checks everything and remove the fun stuff. Okay, first of all, it's not the foundation, it's WordPress community support. It's central, the one that removes all the fun stuff. Now, just kidding. But yeah, it's the foundation is a different thing. It's only related to the do action events. So in the rest of the events, we are talking always about WordPress community support, about Central. And the thing is, we only ask for every line you put in the budget, we ask, is this a wise use of the funds? Will this improve the overall experience of the attendees? And will this support the goal of growing the local WordPress community? And if these three things, which are easy to accomplish, are okay, then we will go with that. If you plan to have like a circus or a huge swimming pool or whatever, then probably it's not going to go through the review because probably it's not a wise use of the funds. Maybe it improves the overall experience, but it would be very expensive. And it won't really do much for the local WordPress community because you are probably not going to get that swimming pool for every meetup every month. So just have that in mind. The actionable items here is, I will share, of course, the presentation later, but there is a post in the community P2 from Harmony about the foundation and WPCS structure, why the budgets should be balanced, which is really interesting. If you care about this, I really recommend reading that, because also you see that why we are always trying to balance the income and the expenses. We don't want to try to get all the money possible, because at the end of the year, that entity will have to pay taxes, and that won't be a wise use of the sponsors' funds, because we want the funds go to the events, to the attendees, and not to pay taxes. So that's why we always try to get everything balanced. But anyway, you have there a lot of information. Also, remember that the less you have to fund, the less you have to raise, and the less you have to work. We don't want you to make a huge event that is very difficult to maintain, that it's very expensive. Yeah, you can get that money, but it's going to be a lot of work. So every line in the budget, it's a lot of work for you and the organizers. Try to do a lean budget and stay. I mean, the crazy ideas are nice, but we all love to work less. So don't start going there. And yeah, try to keep the complexity of the event to a minimum. Also, it will be easier to find someone to pass the torch to. You don't want to be doing this every year, like leading or doing the budget. There are many other things you can do in the WordCamp. You can be a speaker, you can be a volunteer. But if you create a very difficult event to replicate, no one will go there and try to do it or try to improve it, or no. So try to keep it as simple as possible. Another thing is that when you start planning, you have like all the organizers throwing ideas about we should do this, we should do that. And sometimes you think, okay, I'm going to that review and they are going to tell me, no, not this. And I don't want to say to my organizers like, hey, this is not happening. So the best thing you can do is check first what's usually covered and what's generally out of any budget. Okay. Also involve.
Wait a second, Juan, because yeah, thanks.
Sorry. Involve the whole team in knowing the overall cost. I mean, the budget shouldn't be something like in a corner where no one knows about this and there is only one person and a spreadsheet. If the whole team is aware of how much this is costing, I mean, not all the details, but they have like some idea, it's a good thing. And also in the budget, you can add elements that are conditional on selling a sponsorship package. Okay, it's like, okay, this would be a nice to have, but we are only doing that if we have a sponsor for this. And if we are not getting that, it's out. And we really like when reviewing things like, hey, it's cool to have I don't know, a photo call or whatever, but that costs money. And hey, can you get that with a sponsor or donate it, or and are there any other option? So think about that. Also, I'm gonna send you again to the handbook. I know there are lots of information there, but these are small pages with very interesting things. This is about prioritization of expenses, and it says what we usually cover, what we rarely cover, and what we never ever cover. So it's good to have that. And also remind everyone in your organizing team that we are talking about WordCamps, also any kind of event, next generation event. This is not about do actions, because they have like a different budgeting thing, and meetups where you usually don't handle this amount of money, and the sponsors only sponsor stuff. But remind everyone that people will come to the event for the content, the connections, and the community. They are not going there because they are gonna have lunch as in a wedding, or because you are going to throw the craziest after party ever, or whatever. Be always aware that people come to see talks, to meet people, and to feel part of WordPress in general. So have that clear, not only for you, but for the rest of the organizing team. And also, when you do the budget, start with a basic, very lean budget that covers all the basics, and then you can grow from there. Like I said, with conditional elements in case you get all the funding that you want to get. And the question of, I don't understand, I'm going to the budget review without knowing if they are giving me, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, and why I'm getting this and the others other. Okay, first of all, we would love that all events to be sustainable only with local sponsors, which we know it's impossible. And right now it's increasingly complicated to get more local sponsors. So we rely a lot also in the global sponsorship program. That's why we have to be very responsible with every little number, every euro, every dollar, every whatever. Because also, once your budget is approved, we are committed to make the event happen. We know you are going to get some money from local sponsors, but even in the case that for whatever reason you don't get anything, we have already approved that budget and the event is going to happen. Maybe we will have to cut some extra things, but the basic, the venue, the coffee, the recording, that would be covered even if you don't get anything. So have that always in mind. The last link to the handbook, and this is not for the WordCamp organizer handbook, but it's the program manager's handbook. When we go to that budget review meetings, we are not inventing anything. Everything is documented. All the questions we are going to ask, all the reasonings around those questions and your answers are written there. So you can already check what we are going to ask you probably. So you feel less stressed about this. Regarding the community sponsorship grant, there is no fixed amount or percentage. It's not 25% or 40% or 5,000 or 8,000. No. So the best thing you can do is start at 0. It doesn't matter if you have a red number at the top of your budget. That's why we are reviewing it. And then we will find a number, an amount where everyone is comfortable to work with. Okay. And just remember, it's different for a big event, small event, a new one, a veteran team, one country, another. We take all that into account. We know it's not the same to organize an event in Spain that in India or the US or Uganda or wherever. So we try to find a good balance and make the organizers feel okay with the budget that we finally approve. So you follow all these tips and you will sleep much better before the budget review. So please do them before the call. But what about the reviewer? Because now I'm on the other side. And the only thing I can tell you is please help us. Because sometimes we have a lot of context and it's easier. If I have to do a budget review of an event in Spain where I'm located, at the first view, I know if this is high, if this is low, are they forgetting something, or this is normal or not. Sometimes we have zero context and we have to do a lot of research. And if it's in a different currency, and if it's a country we don't know, and we have to check the cost of life there, and we have to check all the budgets from the past, and we have to talk with the mentor so we get all the info. It's a lot of work because there are many things that you know that are not in the budget. And we spend a lot of time, and it's really stressful also for us too, because we want to be, we want you to feel like we understand you, but sometimes it's difficult. So make it easier for us. So just an example, like you have the line in the budget for the venue, and you can put venue 0. And I said, okay, that's really good, but is it really 0, or they forgot about adding it because that's the default line? Okay, I will have to ask, I will have to check where they are going to do it and see. It would be better if you put, hey, it's an in-kind sponsorship. Okay, now I understand that you've already talked with the venue and it's a sponsor thing. So, right. And the best would be if you add more details. It's an in-kind sponsorship. The agreement is ready. We are going to treat them same as a gold sponsor in terms of putting their logo in the website and all that. We have way more info. Another example, you can go and say lunch, 12,500 euros. Okay, I'm going to have to ask you, what is this covering? Is this fixed amount per person? Is for lunch and breakfast, or what is this? You can add Saturday plus coffee. Well, I have more info there, which is nice because I won't have to ask you for coffee apart or later. But it would be even the best if you say, okay, this is the lunch for Saturday. It's covering 2 coffee breaks. It's the best price of 3 quotes we got, and the vegan or veggie option is already covered in there. That easy thing that you already know because you've been doing the getting the quotes, talking with the vendor. If you put it there, which is just a simple line, it's way easier for us to say, hey, everything is under control. They got a nice price or the best they could. And we won't be discussing about, hey, have you thought about different dietary needs and all that? Because you already tell me that, hey, it's there. So apart from that, just a few extra tips, no tricks. So Sam is happy with that. That we always, I mean, I was the first one to forget about this when I did my budgets. Always remember the comp tickets for organizers, volunteers, speakers, and sponsors, because if they are getting a free ticket, they are one more in the total number, but you are not getting money from them. So just don't forget to add them. Also, in your budget, don't add just in case lines for extra stuff. I've seen that many times. I've I also wanted to do that in 2019, like just in case 50 euros or 100 euros, because there are always paper or pens or whatever, something's broken and you need to fix it or whatever. We don't want to accept that because we don't know what's the money for. The budget, once it's approved, you can add new lines. It's not like something you can't do. Even if it's a small amount, a very small amount, you tell your mentor and you will put it without even asking anyone else. If it's a big amount, you can go to the channel or you can send us an email to support@wordcamp.org and say, hey, something happened. We need to add an extra item in the budget because of this and that. And we will say probably, yes, it's normal. And let's do that. Also, for every quote you get, be sure that the VAT or the taxes in your country are added. And if they say, no, we are invoicing to a US company, we don't need to add the taxes, ask them twice or 3 times that, are you sure of that? Are you sure of that? Because sometimes they are very sure of that, and 2 months later, their accountant say, hey, why didn't you add the taxes here? And it's 20% of a nice amount. It's a lot of money. So always be safe with that, because we don't like those kind of surprises. Also, if you have micro-sponsors tickets, well, do the maths well. And if it's a ticket, the amount you add in the line is the extra amount over the regular price. I mean, you are already selling the ticket for 25 euros. And if micro-sponsor is 100, you multiply the number of micro-sponsors by 75, which is the extra amount. Like, you are not getting 100 full. But that's it's always a small thing because we don't sell too many micro-sponsors tickets. But if you do that, have that in mind. And same if you offer discounts to students, unemployed, underrepresented people, whatever you do, be careful with the amounts, because we will check that everything is okay. I mean, it doesn't matter if you do it wrong, we will solve it in the review, but just take that into account. And now that the budget is approved, it's a lot of fun. It's working budget time. I'm just gonna share a few extra tips for this moment, because now you have your budget ready, which is great. And you have to make it real, because you've been working with imaginary numbers, which is something I always say. I mean, in the local WordCamps it's different, but in flagship events or very big events, it's like reality. Like, you are working with imaginary numbers for a lot of time, and then it's time to the vendors to do their stuff and build booths and bring food for hundreds of people. And that's a moment where you can always feel also a little stressed, like, is everything going as it was expected to go? So just a second. These are almost the last tips I'm going to tell you. But when you're working with the working budget, with that tab of your website, don't change the number of tickets sold, which is something I've seen sometimes people tend to do. Like, if you are expecting 300 people and you've sold 10 tickets the first day, don't change the number from 300 to 10, because it messes everything up. There are many things that are multiplied by that number. So keep the 300 there till the last moment. If you at some point see that you are going to sell less tickets or more tickets, talk with your mentor and say, hey, we are moving from 300 to 200 or to 400. But then your mentor will make a note and we will know about it. One thing I was very worried the first years of organizing my local WordCamp was are we selling enough tickets like today? I don't know. I mean, as I said at the beginning, we don't know. We are not used to make events. So I don't know. Am I selling enough? I had a spreadsheet because I told you I really like spreadsheets. So you can export in your WordCamp site the number of tickets sold by date. So you can have like a list, like this day we sold 10, this next day we sold 1. And then I made a graph and I used that for every year to compare, like, hey, there are 3 moments when you sell tickets, which are at the beginning when you announce the program and the last 2 or 3 weeks. And even in 2024, we are seeing that many people are waiting till the last week to buy their tickets, which is also another quite a stressful thing for the organizers, but that's not budget related. So I can't help you with that. And yeah, it's nice to have a spreadsheet. And if you want info about this, you can ask me because I can share it, or to see different trends. Of course, it's not going to be the same in your city than in mine. Also, try to keep the original lines from the approved budget in the working budget. You can change the comments. You can say, hey, this was expected to be 600 and it's 7 or it's 5, whatever. You can add that, but it's easier when people make the payments to review that, because every payment you ask for, every vendor payment you upload, it has to be reviewed. So we are sure that we are paying for something that was already approved. Regarding that, if you put a number, and I will show you an example after this, if you put a number on the vendor payment and on the line of the budget, that would be amazing, because it's really easy to track that. And also, you can add little icons. I do it with emojis all the time to see the status of each line. So I know all these things in the budget have to happen. Are they already taken care of? Do we have the invoice? Is the person that is organizing this, responsible of this, already taken care of that, or no, or yes? And it's really interesting because in your budget is everything that is going to happen in your event. So you have the overall view of the event, and you can check, hey, someone has forgot about the speakers present, and it's there. We ask a quote for that, who is responsible of that, and then you will see if you have a red cross next to it, it's like, hey, no one is taking care of this or whatever. And yeah, the thing is, if you are responsible of the budget, just do everything as if everyone is watching you, because transparency is essential. Like, as Sam said, there are no tricks. You cannot hide stuff, because everything will appear somewhere. And we have amazing people like Nilo taking photos of everything that happens in every WordCamp. So just work with transparency and everything in mind, that what you do is a wise use of the funds, is good for the local community, and is a good use of the money you are raising. Just an example, like in our last WordCamp, I added a line in the budget, which was like category other. This thing with a red cross means discarded, a green check means confirmed, and a yellow circle means we are still working on the final number. And then at every line, I added mainly a green or a yellow thing to know if it's ready or we are still working on that. And also, we could add like a number and brackets that's like, okay, 01. And then when I go to a vendor payment, I add that number there. So when that vendor payment is uploaded, we know when we review that, hey, this is that amount, because there are budgets that are a few lines, but there are others that have dozens of lines. And it's not easy to check everything to know, hey, was this approved or what is this? Some people just upload the vendor payments and it says untitled invoice, and you have to check every number. And sometimes numbers, they don't even, they are not the same. So you have to send an email or go to Slack, ask the organizers, what's this about? And then the time keeps going, and then the vendor will ask you, hey, have you already submitted the payment? We need it. And so the easier you do, and it's not a big deal, just to add a number, just to add an icon, just to have everything in order. Just get these ideas. Probably you can find a better way to do it, or a more original way. Please, if you do, share it with us, because it's, of course, the budget tool is quite old and it could be improved, so we don't have to hack it with emojis or these kind of things, but it's what we have right now. And you can make the central team life easier, and that would mean that you are making yours easier too. Just for example of a discarded item we had this year, we added, like, it's a conditional thing. It was entertainment for the after party. So if we got a sponsor for the after party, we would have that band. We didn't, and then we discarded. So that's it. It was there, but we didn't go through with that. So last thing, please keep track of everything you receive and you spend, because this is, maybe it's fun for me because I like these things, but probably for you, the funniest part of the event is the doing the event and enjoying the people. So if you wait till the 1 week after the event to do all this stuff, all the invoicing, all the budgeting, it's going to be a nightmare, no matter any tip or whatever I share with you. So if you keep doing it not every day, but at least weekly, you check everything and you upload everything, that could be good for your health and your mental health after the event. And that way, if you do this with the icons or the emojis, and you see everything is being taken care of, and you are not forgetting anything, and you are selling tickets at good pace, then you know that everything is going well without surprises. And if at some point, like 1 month before the event, you see that things are going out of control, you know exactly where or who in your organizing team needs to do more stuff or whatever, or need help. And the budget is the overall view of your event. So treat it like that, and give it a little care. So that's it from me. Thank you so much. And if you have any question, if you have experiences, if anyone is still awake, because I'm not seeing anyone, so I'm scared of stop sharing the presentation right now, which I'm going to do. You're still there.
So what you guys can do is you can use the icon reactions and raise hand, click raise hand. So if you have multiple people want to ask question, and then it will come up on the screen who raise hand first, and then we can go by your questions, right? So is there any questions? You can unmute and talk when you raise your hand. So we have one question in the chat. Is the first draft of budgeting an estimated one?
Yeah. Well, we ask everyone to have real quotes of everything, because you cannot trust, like, the price of last year, which was something that many people do. It's like, okay, last year it costed this, so this year is going to be the same. It's not. And we've seen that this year and last year, that prices are escalating a lot. So you can start doing with some estimations, but before asking for the review, we will ask you to get like real quotes. And it's easy to spot, because many people say, okay, this is 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and it's never these numbers so beautiful. So
Right. Okay, Nilo, go ahead.
Hello. Okay, I have a question about global sponsors. If you decide to do a small WordCamp, like a 100 person in a university, a school with low budget, there's any way to do not use the global sponsor, to just use local sponsor?
well, I don't know if Kevin here can, as part of the global sponsor team, can share.
Answer that. I mean, so if you don't need the global sponsorship funds, they won't be used for your camp, but the global sponsors are sponsors of every single camp.
So I have to reserve the spot for the table, for that, whatever.
Yeah. So, and you only have to give the global sponsors something you're giving the locals.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's not like they get anything extra. So if you're not giving tables to your local sponsors, you don't have to give them to the globals. But yes, if you are giving exhibit space tables to local sponsors, globals get them as well for supporting the entire program.
Kevin,
Okay, but then you can not give a table to anyone and have the same exposition for both the local and the globals.
Correct.
No, I'm saying this because there's a common thing that your venue is something like a theater.
Mhm.
You have space for the people, you have just enough space for the catering, but you don't have a space for putting 6 tables.
Correct. And that's fine. So, but if a WordCamp, a small WordCamp is a great example, has no sponsor space, you do not have to come up with it because of the globals.
Mhm.
Kevin, is it correct that the globals should come in at the highest tier sponsorship that you're offering?
The globals come up at the equivalent. So a gold global sponsor comes in at your top level.
Yeah.
A silver global comes in at your second level, regardless of what you call your levels.
Yeah. So for WordCamp the Netherlands, there was a top tier package that was the most valuable package, but was only available for the global sponsors. And then there was a lower tier that could be purchased for the local companies or other companies. So it was a little bit of a workaround because we had exactly the problem Nilo described.
Right.
I should say they because I wasn't on the organizing team. But they did the exact same. So there were only 6 tables. There was room for 6 tables. So the top tier sponsorship had different benefits, but with a higher value than the second tier sponsorship, which was what we sold to the locals.
And
And that
also
worked because there were no silver global sponsors.
For the global sponsors, most of the time, if it's a very small WordCamp, like 60 or people or that, it's not going to be worth for them to move 2 or 3 people to a table to that. So it's you have to talk with them and tell them, hey, or because that that we cannot invent more space in our venues, and we
Right.
can find a good way that everyone is happy with that. And it's always like, it's not the normal rule, it's just exceptions. So go Nilo.
Okay, something related. We have a problem this year that as we didn't know how many global sponsors were actually coming. We have to restrict the number of global sponsors. And we even lost one of the sponsors because they didn't want the silver level. They wanted a gold level because the gold level had a table and the silver didn't. Is there any way to know in advance if the global sponsor actually coming to our WordCamp? So we have to make space for them.
Ask
I mean, in
them.
advance.
Yeah.
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 But
I mean,
most time they don't know.
so definitely ask them, but I'd also say that if you're in that situation, let your mentor know. And either you or your mentor go to the community events channel and detail the problem, and somebody on the global team can reach out to them to let them know that they really need a decision because it would be adversely affecting the camp. Because all we can do is ask, and sometimes they don't even know themselves. But we certainly look to help you in that situation.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Yes, this takes me to a related question, which is, are we supposed to contact proactively the global sponsors? Because my colleagues told me that other years they got a list of the contacts of each global sponsor. And as far as I see from this year, from the materials, there is not such a contact list.
Yeah, you should receive I mean, there is an email that is sent when the WordCamp is officially scheduled. That email go with all the contacts to all the global sponsors. If you don't have that, I will send it to you right now. But yeah, it's automated. So as soon as the WordCamp is
that will be
officially
great
scheduled,
because that will be great because WordCamp was scheduled last year and the global sponsors for this year were announced now in January, so we don't get this information. Okay, please send it to me.
yes.
All right.
Thank you.
That's
Okay.
a good catch, by the way, because that might happen with more camps that they got approved last year and only so they need an updated list on the sponsors.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your question, Taco.
Yeah. So I already posted in the chat as well, but in your example, Juan, you showed the Galician band as being discarded, but when you leave it in the budget, it will still affect your profit loss overview.
Yeah, I
Doesn't
wasn't
it?
clear there. The amount was in the text of the real
Okay.
amount was 0. So I
Set to
removed
0.
that.
Okay. Yeah.
I just added there just to know that, hey, this was going to cost 600 euros. We are discarding this, but it's
Okay.
0 because we don't have that money for that.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
Right. Yogesh, go ahead with your question.
Hey, Juan, thank you very much for the presentation. And the points I really totally agree on. The touch me was always do everything as if the whole community is watching. Do the budgeting in open, so in true WordPress open source fashion. So I'm just sharing our experience from Bangalore. So last year was the first time we had our WordCamp in Bangalore. So we arrived to WordCamp scene very late, but we already followed your advice. If you have less to spend, then you need to raise less and you need to work less. So we had our venue was pro bono. It was sponsored venue. There was hosted at one local university, and they came on board as gold sponsor for our venue sponsors. And the budget was small, and that helped the whole team a lot. And now the other people are ready to take up the responsibility as the lead organizers because they feel that, oh, it's not much of work. We can do it. And the other smaller towns nearby, they say, oh, we can do WordCamp because it's not really a huge workload, that we can handle it with little bit guidance. Thanks for confirming to our bias we already had.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Taco, you have a question? Go ahead.
Always. So how do you determine what sponsors or what sponsorship amount is reasonable for your camp for the area that you're in?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. Well, the thing I always do is check what other WordCamps are doing, so I have a starting point. Like when we did the first WordCamp here, I checked all the WordCamps in Spain, Portugal, or even France, other places for Europe. Like say, okay, they are selling gold. It's 1,000. Those times was 1,200, I think. Silver 900, bronze 400, and they are selling this amount and this amount and this amount. And then I check the logos on their website, and it's like, okay, and they are getting this and this and this. This is easier in places where there are already WordCamps happening. It's not that easy in the countries where there are not as many local companies WordPress related. So it's always like, hey, can you get something? Are there, do you have any contacts? And most of the time in many of those countries, it's not about big sponsors, but getting companies to donate, like the coffee, the food, the venue, and everything. Because and when we do the review, we also try to be realistic with that, because most of the time the organizers and myself, I'm the first one. We always say, hey, we are selling all the sponsored packages. We're going to sell 6 gold and 8 silver and 16 bronze. And then you end up with the 6 gold and 1 silver and 1 bronze. And we know that that happened. So it's also our job to tell you, okay, you expect to sell 15,000 euros. Okay, let's think that maybe you are going to get 12, 11, and see how this affects the overall budget. Because we are seeing it like this year and last year, and after the pandemic, the prices are getting higher. We are making the same packages as always, and many companies are not sponsoring as they did in the past. So we have to be realistic and tell the organizers, hey, it's cool if you can get all these, but let's be careful, because what we don't want is the organizing team to be stressed the last month because they don't have enough money, because that's terrible, because it's not their job. It's like, okay, you are doing your best, you are getting all you can. I can help you, that your mentor can help you. Contact this or this other one, or let's try to find solutions. But what we don't want is someone to don't sleep at night because they are missing 1,000 euros for their event. But we have to tell that, because people usually think that, hey, it's my responsibility to make this event happen. And it's like, no, it's a common effort from all the community.
Right. Okay, so is there anyone else have any question? I don't see any hands. So we are almost at the top of the hour. Any final questions?
Just
All
a
right,
final
so
note. One thing, the flagship events, because I've seen the comments and that the flagship events are like a totally different thing, that it doesn't make any sense at all. So from my experience, so if you ever go to a WordCamp Europe, WordCamp Asia, WordCamp US and see how big everything, don't go back to your local community and think, oh, we have to do huge things. I mean, these are a very different kind of events, and it's really exciting to be there, and you get more ideas and you get lots of contacts and that, but don't feel like you have to do that. So if you can travel to local WordCamps near your area, that would be a way better experience to see what is really expected, which, as I said, is community content and contacting new people. So that's it.
I think that's a great closing comment. All right, thanks everyone for joining us today. I just posted a link in the chat. Please feel free to fill up the form to feedback about the training today. Thank you so much, Juan, about the training today. We really appreciate your efforts preparing the slides and for your time today. And I hope to see everyone again. We will edit the video and upload in our handbook later, so you will be able to replay the video later if needed. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, and see you
Thank
again.
you, Sam.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks again, Juan. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Hi, everyone.
Let's see who was sleeping.